The cabin lights dimmed to a soft amber as the cart rolled past. Maya glanced up, stretching her wrists after typing a few lines on her tablet. The purser, Linda Hayes, smiled a polished smile that didn't reach her eyes and slid a dull gray tray onto Maya's table. Beside her, the man in seat 2A received the same meal, but plated on gleaming silver with a linen napkin. "I think this one suits you better," Linda said lightly. For a moment, the sound of cutlery and low chatter vanished. Maya looked down at the plastic tray, its edges rough, sauce already cooling. Then the captain's voice cut through the quiet. "Ladies and gentlemen, we'll begin descent in approximately 15 minutes. Maya exhaled slowly. Every tray looks the same, except mine. The descent and the reckoning had begun. Have you ever been treated differently for something you couldn't change: your skin, your gender, or just the seat you sat in? Before we go on, tell me, where are you listening from tonight? Drop your city in the comments. I'd love to know how far this story travels. And if you believe stories like this deserve a voice, hit that subscribe button so you won't miss what comes next. Now, take a breath. The cabin's still buzzing, and someone's about to say something that will change the entire flight. Let's step right back into it with this video. The hum of the engines deepened as the flight steadied. The smell of reheated butter and garlic drifted through the air, comforting to some, but strangely metallic to Maya. She pushed her fork through the overcooked chicken breast and glanced again at the silver glint of the tray beside her. Seat 2A's passenger, Mr. John, a middle-aged man in a navy suit, was already tucking into his meal. The linen napkin on his lap caught the light, immaculate, unwrinkled. He didn't look her way. Maya raised a hand gently as Linda passed again with the beverage cart. "Excuse me," she said. "There might have been a mistake. My ticket says first class." Linda's practiced smile reappeared, thinner this time. "No mistake, ma'am. That's the special service tray." Maya frowned. "Special? In what way?" "The kind our diverse passengers sometimes request." The pause before diverse was long enough to sting. Across the aisle, someone cleared their throat. A subtle shift of attention rippled through the small cabin. People listening, pretending not to. "I didn't request anything special," Maya replied quietly. "And I'd prefer the same meal as everyone else." Linda's eyes flicked toward the silver trays. Her tone sharpened, coated with sugar. "Those are for premium passengers, Dr. LeGrand." The words landed with the softness of velvet and the sting of a slap. Maya felt her cheeks warm. She opened her mouth, then stopped. Around her, the choreography of luxury continued. Glasses clinking, polite laughter, the faint hiss of espresso being poured somewhere behind the curtain. From 2 rows back, a faint red light blinked. A young man, early 20s, was holding a small handheld camera, Jordan Wu. Maya had noticed him earlier when boarding a student, maybe quiet, curious eyes. Now he was pointing the lens slightly downward, pretending to film his seat screen, but she could see it. The record light was on. He wasn't capturing drama. He was capturing silence, the kind that reveals itself in tiny humiliations. Linda leaned closer, lowering her voice. "You know how people talk, Dr. LeGrand. I'm sure you understand how delicate service standards can be." Maya met her eyes. "Delicate? I think you mean selective." Linda straightened, pretending not to hear. "Would you care for dessert? The chocolate soufflé is reserved, but we have fruit cups available." The insult was in the offer, the downgrade wrapped in politeness. Maya's pulse quickened. She looked at the tray again, at the dull gray plastic reflecting her own face distorted by the curve. "Fruit cup," she said finally. Linda smiled. Excellent choice. As the purser walked away, Maya noticed Jordan lower the camera, his brow furrowed. Their eyes met for an instant, an unspoken question passing between them. Did that really just happen? Maya inhaled, slow and deliberate. She dealt with bias before in boardrooms, at investor dinners, in interviews where she was both token and trophy. But this was different. The stakes were smaller, yet the wound felt sharper, more personal. She reached for the call button, hesitated. and let her hand fall. The light outside the window was beginning to fade into dusk. The horizon blushed purple. Inside the cabin, everything gleamed except her tray. From the speakers above, the captain's voice returned, calm and detached. "We'll begin our descent shortly. Estimated arrival in 12 minutes. Maya closed her eyes for a moment, steadying her breath. 12 minutes. That was all it would take for the flight to end, for everyone to forget, for another quiet injustice to vanish midair. But not this time. When she opened her eyes again, she caught Jordan's camera still lingering, lens focused on the gray tray between her hands. He wasn't smiling. He was documenting. And for the first time, Maya didn't look away. The cabin air felt warmer now, thick with the scent of reheated butter and something sweet. Maya had barely touched her fruit cup. The grapes were pale and watery, the melon cubes collapsing into syrup at the bottom. Across the aisle, a spoon cracked gently through the shell of a perfect chocolate soufflé. She caught herself counting the sounds: metal, porcelain, then laughter. Her fingers tightened around the plastic fork. "Excuse me, Dr. LeGrand," a soft voice said behind her. Maya turned. It was the younger flight attendant, the one with the nervous smile and the perfect bun. Her badge read, Aaron. She was holding a tray of coffee cups, balancing them like fragile artifacts. "Yes?" Aaron hesitated, eyes flicking toward where Linda stood further down the aisle. I just wanted to say, I recognized you. From that TED Talk. The one about your app?" Maya blinked, momentarily thrown. "Equal Bite?" Aaron nodded quickly, lowering her voice. "My mom uses it every day. She's diabetic. Your company's meal planner changed her diet completely." For the first time since the gray tray landed, Maya smiled, small, tired, but real. "Tell her I'm glad it helps." "I will." Aaron bit her lip, as if choosing between courtesy and conscience. "I saw what happened earlier. It wasn't right." Maya looked up, searching Aaron's face. "Is it common?" The younger woman hesitated. "Sometimes the purser decides which passengers get the upgraded plating. It's supposed to be random, but it's not." Maya finished for her. Aaron didn't deny it. She only looked at the dull tray, then back at Maya. "For what it's worth, I don't think service should feel like ranking people." Maya's throat tightened slightly. "Neither do I. Everyone deserves the same meal. That's the whole point." The words came out simple, but something in them landed heavy in the air between them. Aaron nodded, eyes glistening just enough to betray her age. Behind them, Jordan's camera blinked red. He'd caught the line. He didn't mean to intrude, but his instincts, as a documentarian, the quiet kind, knew the moment mattered. Linda's voice broke the fragile calm. "Aaron, coffee service now, please." Aaron flinched. "Yes, ma'am." She turned to go, then leaned in close enough for only Maya to hear. "You shouldn't let this slide." Maya watched her walk away, stiff-backed, tray trembling slightly in her hands. The younger woman disappeared behind the curtain that separated first from business, a flimsy barrier of fabric and hierarchy. Outside the window, clouds were turning a deep rose from the sunset. The plane banked gently, tilting the world. Maya looked down at her tray again. The reflection of her face in the plastic lid had shifted. It wavered, distorted by light and turbulence. A quiet chime signaled from above. "Ladies and gentlemen, we'll begin final descent in approximately 12 minutes. 12 minutes. The same countdown, now echoing through her chest. She reached for the tray and straightened the utensils, aligning the fork and knife. The act felt almost ritual control, reclaimed in miniature. Jordan appeared at her side, crouched low to stay out of sight lines. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm doing a study on service bias for my sociology thesis. I didn't plan to record this, but it's exactly what we've been analyzing." Maya's brow lifted slightly. "Analyzing?" "Microaggressions," he said. "Small moments that prove systems aren't neutral." Maya exhaled through her nose. "You're right, they're not." She paused, then looked directly into his lens. But systems don't change until people stop pretending neutrality is kindness. Jordan froze then, almost reverently, lowered his camera. Maya smiled faintly. You can keep that line if you want. He nodded. I think the internet might need to hear it. As he stood, Maya turned back toward the aisle. Linda was watching her now from the galley, expression unreadable. There was a flicker recognition, maybe irritation, but it didn't matter. The hum of descent deepened. Lights dimmed another notch. Maya pressed her palm lightly on the gray tray, feeling the subtle vibration of the aircraft through it, a tremor that felt alive. The cabin light shifted to a softer hue, amber, folding into gold, a quiet signal that the descent had truly begun. The world outside was streaked with coral clouds, the horizon burning faintly like an ember held between two fingers. Inside, Maya sat perfectly still. The purser's cart moved again, wheels clicking faintly against the floor. Linda's voice glided through the aisle, warm and professional. Coffee or tea? Dessert? Each tray gleamed as it passed. The polished silver caught the light and scattered it across the cabin in thin, blinding lines. It hit Maya's dull gray tray, bounced once, and died. She watched the reflection fade. Mr. Cole in 2A accepted a refill with a nod, murmuring something polite. His napkin was spotless, folded at a perfect diagonal. The chocolate soufflé on his tray steamed gently, untouched for the moment, waiting. Maya looked at her fruit cup again. The melon had collapsed into a pool of sugar water. She could smell the artificial citrus of the cleaning wipe that Linda used between trays. Sharp, sterile, cutting through the sweetness in the air. Jordan was still filming. Quietly, discreetly. The red dot blinked in the reflection of a window, a heartbeat inside a machine. He didn't speak. His lens was doing the talking. Maya reached for her glass of water, realizing her hand trembled slightly. She steadied it against the edge of the tray. The condensation left a faint ring on the dull surface, like a signature no one wanted to see. Linda's steps paused beside her row. Would you like anything else, Dr. LeGrand? The words were wrapped in politeness, lacquered like the shine on her name tag. Maya met her eyes. No, thank you. Linda nodded and moved on. But Maya saw it, a small flicker of something in the purser's face. Not guilt, not malice either. Something closer to discomfort. A trace of recognition that what she'd done wasn't invisible. The silence stretched. Somewhere behind her, a passenger laughed softly at a joke Maya couldn't hear. The laugh echoed against the cabin wall, distorted by air pressure. The engines thrummed deeper as the plane dipped slightly lower. The coffee in Maya's cup rippled once, twice. She breathed in through her nose, out through her mouth, measured. Years of boardrooms and negotiations had trained her for this containment, composure, control. But there was something about this moment that clawed under the armor. All her life she'd fought to prove she belonged in rooms like this. Built a company, won awards, mentored young chefs, signed contracts that put her app in hospitals and airlines alike. And now, 30,000 feet above the ocean, she couldn't even get the same meal as the man beside her. Her jaw tightened. She imagined her PR team saying, "Let it go, Maya." The investors saying, "Don't make it racial." The whisper of her own conscience saying, "You've endured worse." But she wasn't sure endurance was the right word anymore. Jordan's camera shifted slightly. The lens caught the side of her face in profile. The set jaw, the stillness, the quiet rage so tightly wound, it became elegance. Maya exhaled, finally. A sound so soft it could have been mistaken for the sigh of the aircraft itself. Outside the window, the last of the sunlight broke free and spilled into the cabin, touching every silver tray with gold except hers. The gray plastic absorbed it, turning matte, invisible. Linda returned with the trash bag. "May I collect your tray, ma'am?" Maya looked at it a long time. The fruit cup was half eaten, a spoon resting diagonally across the tray like an unanswered question. "Not yet," she said. Linda hesitated, nodded once, and moved on. The purser didn't look back. But Jordan did. Through the lens, he saw what Linda didn't. The slow, deliberate movement of Maya's hand pressing flat against the tray. anchoring it to the table. As the engines deepened again, the captain's calm voice filtered overhead. "Cabin crew, prepare for final collection." A faint tremor passed through the fuselage. Maya didn't move. The tray stayed. Linda's heels clicked closer. Her face carried the crisp calm of authority, the kind that expected obedience wrapped in civility. Behind her, Aaron lingered, uncertain, holding a stack of linen napkins she'd been sent to redistribute. "Dr. LeGrand," Linda began softly, "we're beginning our final service collection. May I take your tray now?" Maya looked down at the dull gray rectangle still anchored beneath her hand. She didn't answer. Linda's voice dipped a shade lower. "Ma'am, please, let's not make this uncomfortable." The word uncomfortable lodged like grit between Maya's ribs. Around them, passengers watched without watching side glances over wine glasses, the collective choreography of avoidance. Jordan stood at the edge of the aisle. The little camera in his hand trembled once, then steadied. He wasn't pretending anymore. The lens rose, red light blinking to life. Linda noticed it immediately. "Sir, filming other passengers isn't allowed." Jordan met her gaze. "Then maybe you should stop giving them reasons to." The purser's poise wavered for the first time. "This is a private service environment." "Private?" Maya's voice cut through, calm but sharp. "I paid for this seat, and I'm being publicly humiliated." The words hung there, electric. A murmur rippled through the cabin. Aaron's eyes darted between them. Linda drew a slow breath. "Women like us should stay composed, Dr. LeGrand. You know how people perceive anger." There it was, the invisible leash, coded in courtesy. Maya's reply came without hesitation. "Composed doesn't mean silent." The purser froze. Even the engines seemed to hold their breath. Jordan whispered, almost to himself, "Streaming now." His screen lit up. The comments began to roll in, a trickle at first. 40 viewers, then hundreds, then thousands. Maya didn't notice the numbers climbing. She was watching Linda. "You wanted composure," she said, voice steady. "Here it is." She lifted the tray slightly, the gray plastic glinting dully under the cabin lights. "This isn't about food. It's about who you think deserves better." Linda's expression flickered. Panic, guilt, pride, all tangled. "You're misunderstanding company policy." "No," Maya said quietly. "You're enforcing it exactly as designed." The silence that followed was no longer polite. It was raw, collective. The man in 2A finally set down his spoon. Aaron's hands trembled so badly she nearly dropped a napkin. The camera captured it all. The power shift. The recalibration of shame. Then the captain's voice broke through. "Cabin crew, secure all items for landing." Linda hesitated. She knew the order meant she should end this, close the curtain, retreat into protocol. But the eyes of passengers, of the camera, of the audience, now swelling online, held her in place. One. Maya leaned back slowly, her hand still resting on the tray. Her pulse had steadied. The humiliation from earlier had curdled into something cleaner, sharper resolve. "You could fix this," she said softly. Linda blinked. "What do you mean?" "Start by calling it what it is." The purser's mouth opened, then closed again. For a heartbeat. She looked her age. Not polished. Not superior. Just tired. Aaron stepped forward, surprising them both. "She's right," she said, voice trembling but clear. "We don't decide who's premium. We just follow examples." Linda turned sharply. "Aaron, that's enough." But the damage was done. The words had cracked the surface of the cabin's illusion. Jordan's phone buzzed 5,000 viewers and counting. Comments scrolled fast. "She's brave. This happens all the time. Show her tray." He angled the camera slightly. The frame caught Maya's face, calm and composed, then panned down to the tray gray, unpolished, unremarkable. "This," Maya said softly, "is what equality looks like when it's downgraded." A pause. Then the seatbelt sign chimed overhead. Linda straightened, retreating into professionalism. "Please prepare for landing." but her voice had lost its authority. It trembled, almost human. As she turned away, Maya whispered, not to anyone in particular. They tell us to stay composed, but silence never saved anyone. The engines deepened their tone, a low, thunderous hum as the plane began its final descent. The air pressure thickened, pressing every sound, every breath closer to the skin. And somewhere behind her, a digital heartbeat pulsed on Jordan's phone. 5,000 viewers watching a quiet revolution at 30,000 feet. The cabin's glow had turned a muted bronze, like light filtered through old glass. The air was heavier now, not just with altitude, but with tension. Maya could feel eyes flicking toward her from every direction. She didn't move. Her phone vibrated faintly on the armrest notifications from a world below that was now watching in real time. 5,000 viewers, Jordan whispered. And climbing? Linda stood near the galley, speaking rapidly into her intercom headset. Her tone was clipped, professional, stripped of any trace of emotion. Passenger dispute regarding catering policy, she said, requesting confirmation from headquarters. Her voice carried, even though she tried to keep it low. Maya's stomach twisted not from fear, but from recognition. She knew that tone. It was the same voice corporate spokespeople used when distancing themselves from human error. The intercom crackled. A sterile, male voice filtered through, flat and official. Policy confirmed. Prioritize frequent flyers and loyalty members. Maintain standard discretion in passenger communication. The words landed like ice. Linda repeated them aloud, perhaps out of habit. Policy confirmed, she said again, turning back to Maya. I'm afraid there's nothing more I can do, Dr. LeGrand. Maya stared at her, incredulous. You just said it. Out loud. Company protocol. Protocol isn't morality. Linda's lips tightened. Ma'am, I don't make the rules. No, Maya said quietly. You just hide behind them. The purser stiffened, then stepped back, her professionalism snapping into armor. If you continue disrupting service, I'll have to report this as a passenger misconduct case. Jordan flinched. She's not disrupting anything. She's asking for basic fairness. Linda shot him a warning glare. Sir, I'm addressing the passenger, not you. He didn't back down. Thousands of people are watching this, ma'am. Maybe address them too. The purser froze. For the first time, her facade cracked. The camera caught it, the flicker of panic, the tiny bead of sweat just under her temple. Maya leaned forward slightly, voice low and deliberate. You see what happens when rules replace judgment? You stop seeing people. You see categories. Please, Dr. LeGrand. No, Maya said, cutting through. This isn't just my tray. It's every rule that tells someone like me to accept less because it's wrapped in manners. The engines rumbled deeper. Outside the window, the clouds thinned land, and lights faintly visible below. The captain's calm voice broke through the overhead speaker. Estimated landing in 7 minutes. Cabin crew, please secure all items. 7 minutes. Linda's eyes darted between Maya, Jordan's camera, and the watching passengers. Let's de-escalate, she said, forcing a smile. We're almost home. Maya laughed softly, a sound without humor. Home? You think this feels like home? The purser didn't answer. She turned, adjusting her uniform as though straightening the invisible hierarchy that protected her. Erin stepped out from behind the curtain again, tray still in hand. Her voice was tentative. Miss Hayes, maybe we should. Linda snapped, sharper than before. Enough, Erin. Please maintain professionalism. The younger attendant hesitated, eyes darting toward Maya, then the camera. I think professionalism should start with respect. Linda's jaw locked, but she said nothing. Jordan's phone buzzed again. 20,000 viewers now. Comments flying. Policy confirmed. Are you hearing this? They actually said that out loud. Systemic bias. Live on camera. Maya sat back, exhaling through her nose. She wasn't angry anymore. She was tired. Tired of explaining the obvious to people who hid behind procedure. Her gaze fell again to the tray. The light above reflected faintly on the dull surface, an image of herself and the cabin ceiling, both distorted. The gray plastic had become a mirror of the system itself, smooth, controlled, lifeless. She reached forward, tracing the rim of the tray with her fingertip. It was cold to the touch. Then, quietly, she said, 7 minutes left. That's all the time this policy has before the world sees what it really looks like. Jordan caught her words perfectly. The comment section exploded. Linda turned sharply toward the front cabin, pressing her earpiece again. "Requesting security on arrival," she whispered, unaware the camera was still capturing her every word. Erin looked away, biting her lip. The hum of descent grew louder, the floor vibrating subtly under their feet. The seatbelt light glowed amber, like an omen. Maya leaned her head back against the seat, eyes closed for a moment. She felt the exhaustion behind her sternum, the familiar weight of being polite in the face of condescension. But beneath it, a spark burned small but steady. Not anger anymore. Conviction. The system had spoken. Now, so would she. Outside, the clouds gave way to city lights, sprawling below like circuitry, cold, ordered, efficient, the perfect mirror of the voice that had just said, "Policy confirmed." The seatbelt sign chimed again, and the captain's voice floated overhead. "Cabin crew, secure all items. 5 minutes to landing." 5 minutes. Jordan's phone was still live. The comment feed raced so fast, it blurred 20,000 people watching, reacting, demanding to know more. The red recording light flickered against his cheek, painting him in small pulses of urgency. "They're watching this live," he whispered. Maya didn't look at the camera. Her gaze stayed on the tray in front of her, the dull gray that had become an accidental icon. Someone across the aisle finally spoke, a woman in her 50s, pearl earrings gleaming in the low light. "I've flown this route for years," she said. "Half to Linda, half to no one. I've never seen meals distributed like that." Linda's lips parted. "Ma'am, it's standard procedure." "Is it?" the woman asked. Her tone wasn't angry. It was curious, in the way curiosity can slice sharper than outrage. Other voices joined in. Soft, uncertain, but enough to tilt the balance. "I thought first class meant equal service. Why does hers look different? Are we really still doing this?" Linda's posture faltered. Her authority, once absolute, now felt porous. Every passenger, a potential critic. Every whisper, a headline. Jordan adjusted his angle, catching her in frame. The live stream comments flared. "That's her. Zoom in. The purser looks nervous. Number tray equality, share this." The hashtag spread like electricity. Within seconds, notifications cascaded onto Jordan's screen. Reposts, reactions, outrage. Erin returned from the galley, moving quietly. She stopped beside Maya, holding something behind her back, a silver tray. Her hands trembled as she set it down gently. "I found one extra," she murmured. Maya looked up, startled. "Erin? You don't have to." "I do," Erin interrupted softly. "It's not about policy. It's about what's right." Linda froze halfway down the aisle. "Erin, step away from the passenger." The younger woman hesitated, then straightened her shoulders. "No, ma'am, I won't." The sentence landed heavier than anyone expected. Jordan's camera caught everything, the defiance, the tension, the silver glint of the tray beside the gray one. The feed exploded. "That girl is brave. She'll lose her job for this." Number, same meal, same respect. Linda took a breath that sounded like a fracture. "You're both making this harder for everyone," she said. The same phrase she'd used before, but weaker, now its authority leaking out. Maya's reply was calm. "We're not making it harder, we're making it visible." Her words carried past the aisle, past the cabin, through the lens, and into the world beyond. Jordan's viewership ticked upward again. 20,000 became 40, then 50. The man in 2A, silent until now, reached into his seat pocket and pulled out his phone. He typed something. Moments later, a chime from Jordan's feed signaled a shared post from a verified account. Maya noticed, but said nothing. She didn't need to. The plane tilted gently into its descent pattern. The cabin lights dimmed further, turning everyone's faces into a tableau of flickering gold and shadow. Linda retreated toward the front, fumbling with the intercom. "Captain, we have a situation in the cabin," she whispered. The reply crackled back. "Noted. Maintain order. We're 4 minutes out." Order. The word hung there, hollow. Jordan looked at Maya. "It's everywhere now," he said. "People are tagging the airline, the CEO, the news outlets." Maya nodded once, expression unreadable. Her voice was soft when she finally spoke. "Good. Let the system feel what accountability sounds like." Aaron stood quietly beside her, hands clasped, trembling just enough to betray the cost of courage. The passengers were no longer pretending to ignore. A man in the back row began clapping, uncertain at first. Then another joined. The sound was awkward, restrained, but real. Linda turned sharply. "This is inappropriate conduct during descent." But the applause spread, hesitant, but gathering rhythm. It wasn't loud. It was measured, like the beating of a collective conscience. The captain's voice cut through once more. "Final approach. 2 minutes." Maya exhaled slowly, looking at the two trays side by side, the silver and the gray. The contrast no longer felt humiliating. It felt historical. Jordan angled his camera down for one last shot. The image framed perfectly. 2 trays touching at the edges, one reflecting light, one absorbing it. "Number tray equality now trending." Aaron whispered, "They'll change the rules after this." Maya smiled faintly. "They'll have to." Outside the window, the first scatter of city lights glimmered against the dusk. Inside, 50 people sat in silence, caught between altitude and consequence. 5 minutes ago, Maya had been alone. Now, an audience of tens of thousands carried her truth into the world below, proof that sometimes justice doesn't descend from above. The seatbelt light glowed. Passengers sat frozen, their gazes swinging between the purser and the woman in seat 2B, between authority and defiance. Linda stood at the front, spine stiff, headset still pressed to her ear. She'd been on the radio moments ago, voice shaking as she reported the incident. Now every movement she made was amplified by Jordan's camera, by the rows of silent witnesses, by the 80,000 people watching in real time. Her words broke through the hum of the engines, quiet but quivering with tension. "Ma'am, please. You're making this harder for everyone." Maya turned her head slowly toward her, eyes level and unflinching. The descent tilted the cabin slightly, gravity itself leaning toward confrontation. "I'm not making it harder," she said, her voice steady. "I'm making it visible." The words cut through the cabin like a clean line of light. Someone near the back gasped softly. Jordan's camera zoomed in, focusing on Maya's hands, one resting calmly on the dull gray tray, the other open in the air, deliberate and still. Linda swallowed. "You don't understand the pressure we're under. We follow policy for a reason." "Policy isn't a reason," Maya said. "It's an excuse you repeat until it sounds like reason." The live stream chat exploded hearts, angry faces, comments racing by too fast to read. 80,000 viewers and climbing. She said it. That's the line. Corporate armor cracking live. Aaron stood at the side, trembling but resolute. She stepped forward again. "Miss Hayes, maybe." "Don't," Linda snapped, but her voice cracked, the sound brittle and human. Maya rose slightly in her seat, the seatbelt tugging against her hips. "You think this is about me embarrassing you? This isn't personal. It's patterned. You've just never had to look at the pattern from where I'm sitting." Linda opened her mouth, but nothing came. The captain's voice boomed faintly overhead, almost surreal in its calmness. "Cabin crew, prepare for landing. 2 minutes to touchdown. 2 minutes. The hum of dissent filled every silence that followed. Linda turned toward the galley, maybe to retreat, maybe to hide, but Jordan's voice stopped her. "Miss Hayes," he said softly, "thousands of people can see you right now. You could still do something right." The purser froze. Her reflection appeared faintly in the cabin window. Perfect uniform, perfect bun, perfect composure, unraveling thread by thread. "This isn't fair," she whispered. "Not to anyone. Maybe not even to herself." "No," Maya said gently, "but it's finally visible." Jordan's phone buzzed violently. Notifications stacking. News outlets were joining the stream. Screenshots. Hashtags. Someone had already posted. Number every tray counts. Number flight 482 bias. Number tray equality. The cabin was no longer a private space. It had become a stage of consequence. Linda took a shaky breath, eyes glistening. "You think I wanted this? You think I don't know how it feels to be treated as less?" The confession slipped out like a crack in armor. Maya blinked, momentarily startled, but the plane jolted slightly, breaking the moment. Passengers gripped their armrests. The sound of landing gear deploying echoed through the fuselage. Aaron reached out, steadying Linda by instinct. "It's okay," she whispered. "Just breathe." But Linda pulled back, face tightening again. "No, it's not okay. It never has been." The words trembled, raw and unguarded. Maya's expression softened, just for a second. The shared wound shimmered beneath the surface, unacknowledged, but felt. Jordan's lens captured everything: the noise, the silence, the weight of seeing two women on opposite sides of a system that had failed them both. Then, the captain's voice again, final and firm. Touchdown in 60 seconds. Outside, city lights rushed upward, reflections streaking across the gray tray like falling stars. Maya looked down at it one last time. The dull plastic glowed faintly in the cabin, light ugly, ordinary, and suddenly sacred. She whispered, not to Linda, not to the audience, but to the object itself. "You carried it all, didn't you?" Jordan didn't zoom in this time. He kept the frame wide, showing Maya, Linda, Aaron, and the entire cabin caught in that single fragile minute where truth was too visible to ignore. The plane began to tremble as wheels reached for ground. And in that suspended moment before impact, silence roared louder than the engines. The world was watching. The wheels hit the runway with a deep, guttural thud. The plane shuddered, then steadied, rolling along the strip as the engines reversed with a roar. A collective exhale filled the cabin, the release of altitude, of tension, of something heavier than air. Then, silence. No one spoke. The seatbelt sign blinked, but no one reached for the buckle. The only sound was the gentle tick of cooling metal and the faint buzz of Jordan's camera. Maya sat upright, her eyes still on the tray. The gray plastic gleamed faintly under the overhead light, catching the faint shimmer of the city beyond the window. Linda stood by the galley wall, motionless. Her headset dangled from one ear. Her lips trembled as if holding back words she didn't yet know how to say. The captain's voice came through, calm and distant. "Welcome to Los Angeles. Please remain seated until the aircraft has come to a complete stop." The hum of the engines slowed. The world felt suspended in that pause between arrival and reckoning. Jordan lowered his camera slightly, uncertain. Aaron stood near him, eyes red but proud. Finally, Linda spoke. Her voice was brittle, as if she'd swallowed something sharp. "I was 21, she said quietly. "First job I ever had was at a hotel in Houston. I served in the dining hall." Maya turned her head slowly, surprised. Linda's eyes stayed on the carpet. "One night, a guest threw his napkin at me, told me to remember my place." The words hung there, heavier than the plane itself. Maya's breath caught. Linda gave a short, bitter laugh. And I did. I remembered it so well, that I spent 20 years making sure I never stood on the wrong side of that service line again. Her voice cracked, raw and unguarded. You think I don't know what this looks like? You think I didn't see that tray? Maya blinked, her anger dissolving into something else, something far more complicated. You learn the rules to survive, she said softly. And then you started teaching them. Linda looked up, eyes glassy. Because no one survives if they don't. The admission was almost a confession. Jordan's hand shook as he adjusted the lens, zooming in slightly not to expose, but to bear witness. For the first time, the camera didn't feel invasive. It felt like grace. Maya inhaled deeply. The exhaustion in her bones was immense. We were both told to remember our place, she murmured. The only difference is mine keeps changing, and yours never got to move. Linda's eyes widened, a tear breaking free. I thought if I acted perfect, she whispered, I'd never be humiliated again. Maya nodded slowly, and I thought if I acted perfect, no one would dare humiliate me again. The symmetry of pain hung between them like a bridge no one wanted, but both needed. For a long moment, neither spoke. The camera recorded the stillness, the truth, that justice sometimes sounds like silence between two people realizing they've both been victims of the same lie. Erin wiped her face quietly, whispering, We can stop filming now. We can stop filming now. Jordan nodded but didn't press the button. His hands were trembling. This isn't about blame anymore, he said softly. It's about record. Maya turned to him, then to Linda. Keep it, she said. But don't post this part. Linda looked up sharply. Why not? Because this part isn't for them, Maya said. It's for us. The engines finally stilled. The lights flickered back to full brightness. Outside, rain began to fall thin, sudden, washing the windows in streaks of motion. It caught the city lights and refracted them across the cabin, splintering into gold and silver and gray. Maya looked at her tray one last time. The rain on the window blurred its reflection until it shimmered like metal. You know, she murmured, under the right light, they all look the same. Linda let out a trembling breath that almost became a sob. Maya reached out, just briefly, touching the edge of the tray between them. Let's make sure they are, she said. Jordan exhaled shakily. Erin smiled through tears. The cabin door clicked open, but no one moved yet. For a few precious seconds, 30,000 feet of misunderstanding lay grounded, and so did pride. The door hissed open, releasing a breath of cool air into the still cabin. The passengers began to stir, gathering their belongings in the fragile hush that follows confrontation. Maya remained seated. The gray tray was still before her, cold, unremarkable, now radiant in the aftermath. A faint crackle came from the intercom. Then a new voice, male, official, measured. Attention Flight 482 crew. Headquarters has issued an immediate operations notice. All in-flight service policies are to be suspended pending internal audit. Every head turned. Erin froze in the aisle, clutching a stack of silver trays to her chest. Jordan's camera, forgotten on his lap, still streamed. The feed exploded with disbelief. Linda stood near the cockpit door, headset dangling, face drained of color. She pressed a hand to her mouth, eyes glistening not in fear, but in something closer to relief. Maya looked up at her. That's your company? Linda nodded slowly. They don't move that fast. Unless the world's watching. The purser's laugh was small, broken at the edges. Maybe someone finally looked at the tray. Maya's lips curved, not in triumph, but in recognition. Maybe. The captain's voice followed, calm and procedural. Ladies and gentlemen, disembarkation will begin shortly. Please remain seated. One by one, passengers rose, moving quietly toward the exit. No applause this time, just a reverent kind of silence, the sound of people understanding they'd witnessed something unpolished but real. Jordan turned his camera off. It's done, he murmured. The feed hit 90,000 before landing. News networks are already clipping it. Maya didn't answer. She picked up the tray, turning it over in her hands. The surface bore the faint outline of where her fingers had pressed earlier. A smudge of resistance, now fossilized. Linda stepped closer, uncertain. I suppose this is where you sue us. Maya shook her head. No. You'll audit yourselves. That's better. The older woman blinked, stunned by the mercy. Why? Why? Because shame only teaches, change remembers. They stood there, two women bound by an invisible thread of history and hurt. The cabin around them emptied, the sound of footsteps fading down the jet bridge. Rain still tapped against the windows, slower now, softer. The city lights reflected on the wet tarmac like 1,000 tiny trays, silver, gray, gold, all shimmering the same. Aaron approached, hesitant. Dr. LeGrand, may I keep one of these? She gestured at the gray tray. Maya smiled faintly. Keep it clean. Remind them what equality feels like in your hands. The young attendant nodded, clutching it as if it were sacred. Linda lingered a moment longer. You know, she said quietly, I spent 20 years trying not to stand out, and you managed to make standing out look dignified. Maya met her gaze. Dignity isn't granted, it's claimed. For the first time, Linda smiled, not polite, not rehearsed, just tired and honest. Good luck, Dr. LeGrand. And to you, Maya said. When they parted, it wasn't as adversaries. It was as two women who had both carried the same invisible weight and finally set it down. Maya reached for a pen from her bag, uncapped it, and drew a tiny mark on the underside of the gray tray, a small equal sign. Then she placed it on the seat beside her. Outside, the rain eased into mist. Ground crew lights shimmered through the droplets, glowing like constellations. The intercom clicked once more, a final sterile tone. All service policies on hold, pending audit. Maya whispered, almost to herself. Good. She stood, picked up her coat, and paused at the doorway. The cabin behind her was empty now, but the energy lingered like a heartbeat that refused to quiet. Her eyes fell once more on the tray, waiting patiently in the seat's glow. She smiled. Now every tray weighs the same. Then she stepped into the aisle, into the waiting rain, leaving behind a gray rectangle that no longer looked dull at all, only balanced. And for the first time that night, the world outside felt level. What did you feel when Maya finally said, now every tray weighs the same? Was it relief? Or something deeper, a quiet kind of justice that you've waited to hear in your own life? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because every story you share helps another truth find its voice. I'll see you in the next one, where another injustice takes flight and maybe lands a little softer.